Hey friends, what's up? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf 4, Masechta Moed Katan. Well, the first part of the Daf is kind of just a continuation of where we ended off yesterday, which was trying to figure out how could it be that Rabbi Gamliel and his Bezdin were mevatel the Tosefes of Shvius of adding on to Shemitah. And then we get back to continue in sugyas of our Mishnah that have to do with tircha and hefsid on Chol Moed and doing melacha on Chol Moed. So friends, without further ado, let's jump in. We're on Daf Daled Amud Aleph, about 7-8 lines into the page, where it says Reb Yochanan Amar Rabbi Gamliel. I'm sorry, Reb Yochanan Amar. It says Reb Yochanan. So it says Reb Yochanan Rabbi Gamliel veizdinu midoraisa batulu. So it says Reb Yochanan that Lemaise Rabbi Gamliel and his Bezdin were being mevatel this based on a pasuk. When they said that you could work your fields all the way up until Shemitah, so it's based on a pasuk. My time, what's this pasuk? Shabbos Beishis. Well, it says Shabbos by Shemitah, and it says Shabbos by Saturday. Malahalan hi asur lefanei la'achrei mutar, and just like by Shabbos, that we have every week. So Shabbos is also b'melacha, but before Shabbos, after Shabbos is mutar. So Afkan also by Shemitah hi asur lefanei la'achrei mutar. While on Shemitah you don't work the land. Before Shemitah and after Shemitah you can work the land. Maskef Ravashi, but Ravashi asks the kasha. Man de Omer hilchasa. So according to Rabbi Yishmael, who needed to learn that from Allah Moshe Misinai, that already from before Shemitah you don't work your field. So this Gezer Shava, and Rashi points out that this is not necessarily a Gezer Shava that he had a tradition for, right? And Ein Adam done Gezer Shava Ma'atzma. You can't just make up your own Gezer Shavas. So therefore, I don't understand. Rabbi Gamliel is just making up a Gezer Shava and saying that you could work your field up until Shemitah. What about the Halach Moshe Misinai? Umandamar Kra, and according to Rabbi Akiva, who says that there are psukim from Bachar Shavakotzer Tishbos, we learn out that you add on to Shemitah. Asi Gezer Shava Akra Kra. So what is that Gezer Shava? Rabbi Gamliel going to uproot the psukim that are saying that we have to add on to Shemitah? Elam Ravashi. So rather, says Ravashi, Rabbi Gamliel veizdino savila Rabbi Yishmael. That rather Rabbi Gamliel and his Bezdin hold like Rabbi Yishmael to Amr Hilchasa Gemirila, and Rabbi Yishmael says that from Bachar Shavakotzer Tishbos, Rabbi Yishmael says it's talking about Shabbos, to say that to teach us about just like Chorish is a shus, also Kotzer is a shus, etc., whatever. So, but he needs therefore the Halach Moshe Sinai to teach that that you add on to Shemitah, and that already from before Shemitah you're not working the land. However, that Halach Moshe Sinai bisman shebeis hamikdash kai, that Halach Moshe Sinai only applies when there's a Beis Hamikdash. Dumadinisu chamayim. Right? It was, what was it? It was Asim Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Nechuni each bigas beis chorsen esu netios arava v'nisu chamayim alach al Moshe Misinai. That these 10 saplings that you're allowed to plow up until Shemitah, but implying that other things you're not allowed to plow up until Shemitah. So that was with arava, it was with nisu chamayim, just like certainly nisu chamayim is only when there's a Beis Hamikdash. So guess what? Also this halacha about adding on to Shemitah is also only when there's a Beis Hamikdash. But when there's not a Beis Hamikdash, so then it doesn't apply, and therefore, Rabbi Gamliel is able to say that nowadays you don't need to add on to Shemitah because that's only when there is a Beis Hamikdash. All right, that was a lot of fun. Let's move on. Let's see what else there is. However, do not irrigate your field, even if it's a base, what was it called? A base ashlachin. Even if it was a field that needs irrigation, you can't irrigate from like collection of water or from a well. So Bishlama Mekilon Ikatirchi Yiseris. Says the Gemara, I understand why you shouldn't be irrigating from a well that you have to sort of, chuck the bucket deep down in order to get some water. It's a tircha. It's too much of a effort. But what's the problem with chapping around a shtickle water from some collected rainwater? What's the extra exertion? Well, we are concerned that if you chap around from the collected water, you might end up chapping around oichet from a well, and a well is too much exertion. And because we don't want you to exert yourself too much to chap around water from a well, so therefore we also say since we don't want you to do that, we also say don't chap around water from a collection of rainwater. Ravashi Omar says, Ravashi Megisham Gufayu Lide Mekilon Asu. Says Ravashi that the fact of the matter is that this collection of water, that maybe right now it's just a collection of water and there's no extra exertion. However, if you take the water from there, guess what it becomes? It becomes like a well that the water has receded, right? Because the problem with the well is that the water is low down and it's harder to extract. Now, if you have this collection of rainwater, maybe right now it is not too difficult to extract, but the more water you extract from it, the more difficult it gets. And therefore, says Ravashi, the reason why you can't chap around the rainwater is because the rainwater soon enough, eventually becomes basically well water, which is deeper well water. Yeah. All right. In my family, we talk about well wood. It's a cemetery. Well wood. I think my grandfather's buried there. Wellwood. Anyways, so yeah, definitely Wellwood. Right, I think right by the Admorim. Let's go weiter. So Amr Megishavim Gufayu Lide Mekilon Asu. Or Bekamifli Abdu Abzer. And Rabbi Yochanan, who says that we make a gezerah by the collected rainwater out of concern of the well water, and Rav Ashi says because the collected rainwater memele becomes eventually the well water. So they're arguing about Reb Zera, the Amr Reb Zera, Amr Rabba Bar Yirmiyah, Amr Shmuel, Nairis Hamoshchin Mayim Min Agomim, that if you have these like streams that draw water from a swamp, another collection of water, Mutar Lashkos Men B'Chulul Shamoed. You're allowed to use these streams to irrigate your field on Chol HaMoed, I assume Beis HaShlachin, on Chol HaMoed, and we're not concerned that maybe the swamp is going to dry out. So Rabbi Yochanan, who's concerned about a situation of who knows what will happen, like a just in case kind of thing, right? That Rabbi Yochanan says, look, you can't chaparine the water from the collected rainwater because out of concern that you might end up, collecting water from the what was the other option? The rainwater and the well water, right? So therefore here also, when it comes to this stream, he would say, look, you have to be concerned about worst case scenario, which is that maybe the agam, this sort of water source that is supplying the stream will dry up and then you're going to go take from some other place. He's concerned. And therefore, he would say that you would not be allowed to irrigate your field from the stream that comes from this agam, because what if the agam dries up? Whereas Rav Ashu says, no, the problem with the rainwater is that the rainwater itself is a problem because it's just gonna become the well, i.e., once you chop around water, it's gonna get lower, and it itself is a problem. But we don't necessarily have to be concerned about other kind of problems, such as if I have this stream that's coming from this agam, some swampy collection of water or something, I can, as long as there's plenty of water to go around right now, I can use it. There's no problem, like Reb Zera is saying, and Rav Ashi would agree with that. All right. Gufo, we said earlier, Amr Reb Zera, Amr Rabba Bar Yirmiyah, Amr Shmuel, So if you have these streams or rivers that are drawing water from some, source of water, so you're allowed to irrigate from these streams on Chol HaMoed. So now Rabbi Yirmiyah asks a kasha on Rabbi Zeir, and he says, but our Mishnah says that, but you're not allowed to irrigate from collected rainwater or from wells. Now Rabbi Zeir wants to assume that the issue with the rainwater is that what if it dries out? What if it dries up? And therefore, if we have to be concerned with the rainwater drying up, then shouldn't we have to be concerned that this agam, that this marsh, is that the way to translate it? Maybe that will dry up? So listen to what Reb Zeir says. Omerle, so Reb Zeir says to Reb Yirmiyah, Yirmiyah bri, Yirmiyah my son, hane agme de Bavel, kemai de lo paske damu. The marshes of Bavel are like waters that don't dry up. You don't have to be concerned that it's going to dry up. Wow, would you look at that? Tana Rabbanan the rabbis taught hapsikas va'abreiches shenismalu moy me'erev Yom Tif. All right, so if you have water sources that got filled up with water from before Yom Tif, also la'ashkus mein b'chulo shel Moed. You're not allowed to irrigate from them on Chol HaMoed. Ve'im hoisa amos hamayim overes benein. But if there was a stream of water that was running between them, that even if the bodies of water dry up, but you still have the stream that you can rely on, so mutter. So then you're allowed to irrigate your fields with these bodies of water, because you can definitely rely upon the fact that you have this stream that you can always chap water from if you need to. Amr Rav Papa says Rav Papa vusha ruba shel osu sadeh shosa meosa amasamayim. But says Rav Papa, that's as long as the majority of the field would be able to be irrigated from that stream of water. Because if the majority of the field cannot be irrigated from that stream of water, we're concerned that you might go find water elsewhere, and that would be too much exertion. Rav Ashi Omar says, Rav Ashi, Afapisha ein ruba shel osa sade shose. Says Rav Ashi, actually, actually, even if the majority of that field is unable to receive water from that stream, however, came to come mashcho ve'asya meimar omar iloshasi l'chad yoma tishtei l'treu l'tzlasa yome. Well, since the stream sort of is on the move, there's always new water coming. So then memele, so what will you say? You'll say, well, okay, if I can't get my entire field today, so I'll just spread it out over a few days. So you're not necessarily going to go, searching for water elsewhere. You are going to just, you'll just kind of spread it out or whatever. So therefore, Rashi says, even if the majority of the field is unable to receive water from that stream, it could still be okay as long as, the water is going to be replenishing because it's a stream, and as long as you spread it out over a few days, it's fine. Tana Rabbanan the rabbis taught, Brecha shenotefes mayim misode misdei beis hashlochin zo muter laashkos mimeno stei beis hashlochin acheres. So this is an interesting situation. It's talking about when you have two beis hashlochin, so you have these two fields that need irrigation, and now one of them is higher up and one of them is lower up. It feels like it's Masechta Eruvin, trying to imagine these situations, right? Almost sounds right. I feel like in Eruvin we actually did have something similar. There was one chutzner above and one chutzner below, and the different walls and stuff. Anyways, so here you have this beis hashlochin on top, and you have some irrigation canal, some irrigation stream, and the irrigation stream on top provides water for the beis hashlochin on top, but then it drips down to this body of water that's on the lower level, and then you use that water on the lower level in order to irrigate the field on the lower level. So again, Tana Rabbanan the rabbis taught brecha shenotefes mayim misdei beis hashlochin zo. So muter laashkos mimeno stei beis hashlochin acheres. So if you have this body of water that basically is getting water from these drips that are coming from this stream that's on the upper level. So you can use this body of water that's getting these drips on the lower level in order to irrigate the lower field. V'avida de pasca, but what if the stream above kind of, runs out? So Rabbi Yirmiyah v'adaini mitaftef. Says Rabbi Yirmiyah, as long as there's still drops coming from the top level to the lower level, so you could still rely upon that body of water. Abai says Abai v'ushlo pasuk ma'in rishon, as long as the top stream has not dried out. If the top stream has dried out, so then we can't rely upon its water anymore. But as long as the top stream hasn't dried out, so then as long as it's still dripping down below, so you can use that body of water to irrigate the field, the lower field. Tanu Reb Shimon ben Menashe, Omer says Reb Shimon ben Menashe. All right, what does he say? If you have two like furrows, I guess, of like a field, patches, one above the other. Lo yidale min atachtona v'yashkes alyona. Don't draw up water from the lower level, the lower patch, to the upper patch. All right, because it's too much exertion. Yoser alkein, and more so, Amr Belazar bar Shimon, afilu aruga achas. Even if you have one furrow, one patch, chetzio namuch v'chetzio gavo, and part of it is lower and part of it is higher. Lo yidle mimakom namuch v'yashke lemakom gavo. Don't draw from the lower level in order to irrigate the top, the upper level. You don't want to do that. Too much exertion. Tanu Rabbanan the Rabbis taught madlin liyirakis kedei leochlan. So you're allowed to pour water, draw water, and apply it to vegetables in order to eat them on Chol HaMoed. V'mishvili aposon also, but if it's just to make them beautiful, so then so you can have a nice centerpiece, then that's not good. Doesn't work. Ravina v'Rabba Tosva havukazli b'orchos. Ravina and Rabba Tosva v'take anatiyul. Chazul au gava dehava dali davala b'chula de mayada, and they saw a certain fellow and he was drawing water on Chol HaMoed. Omerle Rabba Tosva the Ravina. So Rabba Tosva says to Ravina, Leisi ma l'shamte. I have a good idea. Why don't we excommunicate the bugger? Omerle, and Ravina replies, well, we can't excommunicate this fellow. He's not doing anything wrong. But we learn in the Brisa, madlin liyirakas kedei leochlan. You're allowed to draw water and pour them on vegetables so you can eat them on Chol HaMoed. Omerle misavert my madlin maya. To which Rabbi Tosfa says, you really think that means to draw water? My madlin shalufe. Madlin just means that you're allowed to chaparine a vegetable in order to eat it, but it doesn't mean that you're allowed to pour water on it. Kedetznanes, we learn in the Mishnah, hamaydol begefonim kishem shu maydol b'shalo kachu maydol b'shel anim. So a fellow who is sort of chopping some grapes in order to kind of spread it out. The grapes are too concentrated. They're too concentrated, so he's kind of chopping some of the grape vines, I guess, in order to make room for the other ones. So just like he could do that with his own stuff, with his own grapes and his own vines, he could also do it with peah, with parts of the vineyard that are for the poor people. Tiv Rabbi Yehuda, that's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Meir Omer says, Rabbi Meir, b'shalo rasha v'nirasha b'shalanim, he's allowed to sort of chaparine some of these vines from his own vines, but not from the parts that are designated for poor people. So we see that you can argue that you're not allowed to pour water on vegetables on Chol HaMoed, when it means you're allowed to chaparine like a vegetable in order to eat it, but not to pour water on it. So Amalei, to which Ravina replies, Be'atane, but we learn in a Brisa, Madlin Maim liyirakis kedei leochlan. You're allowed to draw water and pour them on vegetables kedei leochlan, in order to eat them. So we see that it's dafka talking about water, not uprooting vegetables. Amalei itanya tanya. To which Rabbi Tosfa says, look, if there's a brisa that says you're allowed to pour water on the vegetables, so then look, you're not going to argue with the brisa. Itanya tanya. If there's a brisa. I can't argue on that, and therefore they were unable to excommunicate this fellow, and they just continued walking without excommunicating anybody. Now, the Mishnah had continued, Veinos and Ugias, Legefanim, you're not allowed to make like irrigation kind of, ditches around grapevines. I mean, Josh Fleet, if you're here, Josh Fleet, can you tell us about this? Anyway, so I don't know. I guess under grapevines they would want to like collect some water, and I guess if the grapevines get thirsty. My Ugias, what are these Ugias? Amr Rav Yehuda Banke. So Yehuda says that they're Banke. But alright, so it's water that's like these collection of water underneath the grapevine. Alright. Tanya Nami Achi, we talk learn in a brisa. Elwein Ugias, these are the Ugias. Bedidin Shebe Ikre Zaysim. Alright. Shebe Ikre Gefanim. Alright. Whatever, what do I mean to tell you? It's they put water under olives and grapes, okay? Ve'ha Rav Yehuda Shara V'nei Bar Tzisoy L'mebod Banki L'chaimeon. But one second. But Rav Yehuda allowed the people of Tzisoy to make these bankes, to make these like water things under their grapevines. But how's that allowed on Shemitah? Lokasha ha b'chadate ha ba'atike. So it means that it depends if they are old or if they're new. If they're new, so then it requires more exertion. But if it's old, then it requires less exertion. I'm sorry, it's not talking about Shemitah, it's talking about Chol Moed. I'm sorry. So therefore, right, if you're going to be making these sort of ugias, these like irrigate, like water-filled things on Chol Moed, if they're new, so then it requires more exertion. If they're old, so then less exertion, and that would be okay. Okay, so Belazar ben Azariah says that you're not allowed to make a irrigation canal on Chol Moed or on Shemitah. So on Chol Moed and on Shemitah, says Belazar ben Azariah, you would not be allowed to dig an irrigation canal. But the Chacham argue and say that on Shemitah you're allowed to dig an irrigation canal, but on Chol Moed you would not be allowed to. You would just be allowed to sort of fix it if you need to. All right. Bishlam Moed. So I understand where Belazar ben Azariah would not want you digging irrigation canals on Chol Moed because it's too much exertion. Shvi is my time. But why would Belazar ben Azariah say that you're not allowed to dig an irrigation canal on Shemitah? What's the problem? Oh, so it's like a machlokas. A machlokas between Reb Zeir and Reb Abba bar Mamu. Chad Omer pnei shenir ke'oder v'chad Omer mipnei shemachzer agape lizriya. Okay, one opinion is that, well, if you dig an irrigation canal, it looks like you're softening up the ground in order to, I guess, somehow that's good for like growing stuff. I guess maybe if you, when do you soften up the ground? I guess maybe before you plant the seeds or something? Whatever. Oh, there, it's a thing for people who plant stuff, I guess. And you don't do that on Shemitah. The other one says, well, when you are building the irrigation ditch, so then you're going to be, chopping dirt and putting it on the sides of the ditch and the canal, and it's going to be like you're like preparing a row for planting seeds. All right, fine. So what is the nafkamina between if the issue is oder or shemach agape l'zriya? So the nafkamina is ikebenayu deka'asu maya basrei. Well, if as you're digging the irrigation canal, so they're like it's being filled with water. So man da'amar pnei shemach agape l'zriya ika. So according to the man da'amar who's concerned that, well, as you dig the canal and you're putting the dirt on the sides, so it looks like you're like preparing a furrow for planting, so that's still relevant. However, according to the opinion that the issue is that digging the canal looks like you're doing this oder thingy, which is like softening up ground for some purpose, I don't know, maybe for seeding, I don't know, but if it's getting replaced with water as you're digging, so then it's clear that you're not doing this oder thing, you're not like preparing it for seeding or whatever it is, because it's just getting replaced with water. So, but 1 second, according to the opinion who says that he's concerned about oder, about softening the ground, and we're saying that that's not relevant if there's water being, replacing it. But as you're digging, you're putting the dirt on the side. Shouldn't you have to be still concerned about preparing like a furrow for seeding? So ella ika benayu, so rather change the nafkamina. The nafkamina is the kashakol mina mine ushdi livroi. That it's talking about where as he digs, he's throwing the dirt far away. So according to the opinion that says that we're concerned that he's preparing like the a furrow next to the canal for seeding, well, that's not relevant because he's not putting the dirt next to the canal; he's throwing it far away. So the mandamim p'nei ka'oder ika, but according to the mandamim who says that it looks like you're softening up the ground, well, that is still relevant. The mandamim p'nei shemach shagapi lezuya leichush p'nei shnir ka'oder, but according to the opinion who says that the concern by digging the irrigation canal is that you're putting the dirt next to the canal, and therefore it looks like you're preparing like a furrow for seeding. But over here it's not relevant because you're throwing the dirt far away. But shouldn't you still be concerned about oder? So kika shakil. So where am I? Agape lezria lechush mipnei shnir ka'oder. So oder nami kika shakil beduchte manach lei. No. So the thing is, he will argue and say that part of oder, the way that you do this oder thing, is you like pick up dirt and put it down in the same spot. So if you're picking up the dirt and throwing it far away, so there's really nothing to be concerned about because it's not like you're collecting it on the side of the canal, so it looks like you're preparing a furrow for seeding, and you're throwing the dirt far away, so there's no issue of oder, and therefore, in that case, according to the opinion that's concerned about, the dirt making a furrow on the side of the canal, if you throw it far away, then there's really nothing to be concerned about. A meimar masni la mipnei shenir ka'oder. So a meimar actually mentions it explicitly, that actually the reason why Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says that you're not allowed to dig an irrigation canal on Shemitah is because it looks like oder. Okay? Vikashle Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. But the problem with saying that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah is concerned with digging the canal because of oder on Shemitah, well, that is inconsistent with something else that he says, which is does Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah really say that anything that looks like oder is going to be aser? But we talk have a contradiction. So adam es zvalo otzer. A fellow is allowed to, collect fertilizer in his field on Shemitah. There's no problem. If you have a whole bunch of fertilizer, you need to collect it in your field. It's no problem. We're not concerned, that you're using it to work your field. Reb Meir says no, you're not allowed to just collect a whole bunch of fertilizer in your field. Ad sheyaymek shlosha tvachim. What you'd have to do is you'd have to first dig out of the ground 3 tvachim and then put the manure there. O ad sheyagbia gimel tvachim, or that you raise up a platform and put the manure on that, put the fertilizer on that, because by doing so you are making it clear that you're just storing the fertilizer. You're not using it to fertilize your field. If from before Shemitah you already had a little bit of fertilizer there, so most of all of Baholech, then you can continue, then you can just, as long as you had a little bit of fertilizer before Shemitah began, so then you can continue adding to it, that's no problem. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says, wait, you're not allowed to bring in fertilizer until you dig deep 3 tvachim, or until you raise up 3 tvachim, or if you put the fertilizer on a rock. So 1 second. Fine. So what do we see? So we see that according to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, he's saying that if you want to put fertilizer in your field on Shemitah, you have to make it clear that it's for storage, and you do that by digging a ditch that's 3 tvachim deep. But what about oder? I thought Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah is concerned about nira ka'oder. Is concerned that if you, in our Mishnah he's saying you're not allowed to dig an irrigation canal because we're concerned that it looks like oder, like softening the ground for seeding. But yet he seems to be saying that if you have a whole bunch of fertilizer, no problem, just dig 3 tefachim into the ground and then put the fertilizer there. What about oder? So Reb Zeir, Reb Abba Bar Mamo, Chad Omer, kigon shehemik. So, one way to understand is that no, you're not going to do it on Shemitah. You're not going to make it 3 tefachim deep. It means that it was already 3 tefachim deep from before Shemitah. And the other way to understand it is that no, you're allowed to dig out a 3 tefachim deep area and put the fertilizer there. But in that case, it's no issue of odor. We're not concerned that you're going to think that it's an issue of odor, because the fact that you're filling it up with fertilizer is clear that it's for storage and it's not for the purpose of seeding and odor. The Mishnah had continued. You're allowed to fix up that which is broken on Chol Moed, right? Meaning, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said that you're not allowed to dig a irrigation canal on Chol Moed or on Shemitah. The Chacham said on Shemitah you're allowed to dig an irrigation canal, and on Chol Moed you're allowed to fix one that is broken. So my mikukelis, what does it mean it's broken? So Amar Ba'aba says Rabbi Abba she'moisa amuka tefach mamida al shisha tefachim. That says Rabbi Abba, if you had an irrigation canal that is meant to be 6 tefachim deep, but it got caught, got clogged up with all sorts of stuff, and now it's only 1 tefach deep, so you can, dig it back out so that it goes back to what it's meant to be, which is 6 tefachim deep. Now, fact the Gemara, a teku kasha, pita chatzi tefach al shlosha tefachim. So it's obvious to me, says the Gemara, that if the irrigation canal was only 3 tefachim deep, which is inadequate, it's inadequate, and then it gets stuffed up, and now it's only half a tefach deep. Kevan de lo over maya lo klumu. Well, since water can't pass through this irrigation canal that's only 3 tefachim deep, you're not going to be allowed to dig out this canal from half a tefach in order to make it 3 tefachim deep, which was before, because before it was not usable, so therefore you can't restore it to a not usable state. Tefachayim al shneim asar. Now, if you have an irrigation canal that was initially 12 tefachim deep, and then it got all clogged up, and now it's only 2 tefachim deep, you would not be allowed to dig it 10 tefachim deeper in order to restore it to 12, because you're doing too much exertion. All it really needs to be is 6. So why are you doing it all the way to 12? So tefachayim al shiva mau. But what if the initial depth was 7 tefachim, and then it got all clogged up, and now it's at 2 tefachim? And the question is, can you dig deeper to restore it at 7 tefachim? Right? Do we say, well, we said that if the irrigation ditch was initially 6 tefachim deep, and now it got all clogged up and it's only 1 tefach deep, so we said that you're allowed to dig 5 tefachim deeper to restore it to 6. So do we say that just like over there you could dig 5 tefachim deeper to restore it to 6, so here also you can dig 5 tefachim deeper to restore it to 7? Or do we say, well, since all you really need for the minimum viable irrigation canal is 6 tefachim, so if you dig from 2 to 7, you're digging an extra tefach. So even though technically, if it was initially 6 and now it's 1, you could dig 5 deep. But that doesn't mean that if it was initially 7 and now it's 2, you could dig 5 deep, because all you really need to do is dig 4 deep to get to 6. The Gemara says, L'maisa, I don't know, let's move on. Abaye shara livnei bar hamdoch l'shachufe naira. Okay, Abaye permitted the people of Bar Hamdoch to remove stuff from branches and stuff in the river. They could remove it. Rabbi Yirmiyah shara lehu livnei sachusa lemichra naira tmima, and Rabbi Yirmiyah allowed the people of Sachusa to clear out the Tmima river. Rav Ashi shara lehu livnei Mata Machaseh l'akduchin or bornitz. Rav Ashi allowed the people of Mata Machaseh to clean in some way the Bornitz river. Omar, he said, Kevin deshasu mine rabim, since a lot of people drink from it, kirabim damu vitnan osin kol tzarki rabim. So it's basically considered like a public utility, and we said in our mission that you could do all sorts of public utilities on Chol Moed, so that would not be a problem. Friends, that was the Avdal Masechta Moed Katan. So the first part of the daf, we were sort of wrapping up the opinion of Rabbi Gamliel, who said that Shemitah, Shemitah is only during Shemitah, not before and not afterwards. We saw the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan, who wanted to say that, well, he's talking mida oraisa because he's learning off from the pasuk of Gzeir Shava of Shabbos, and just like regular Shabbos is only Shabbos but not before and after, and also by Shemitah, Rav Ashi didn't like that. Rather, he says that that really, this halacha Moshe Misina that we have to add on to Shemitah is only when there's a Beis Hamikdash, but not when there is no longer a Beis Hamikdash. Our Mishnah had said that you're not allowed to irrigate from a collection of rainwater or from a well. We saw machlokas between Rabbi Yochanan and Rav Ashi, which is very interesting that Rabbi Yochanan and Rav Ashi are arguing. I mean, Rav Ashi was, Rabbi Yochanan, of course, was in Eretz Yisrael and super early Amora. Rav Ashi was sort of a later Amora in Bavel. So it's interesting. But anyways, Rabbi Yochanan says that you're not allowed to irrigate from a collection of rainwater because you might then irrigate from a well, which is a problem. Whereas Rav Ashi says that no, the problem is not that you might, take a leap from rainwater to a well, but the rainwater becomes a well. Meaning, what's the problem with the well? That the water recedes. Well, if you take enough from the collected rainwater, it's going to recede as well, and then just become your well. Then we saw the opinion of from our Mishnah of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, who says that you're not allowed to dig an irrigation canal neither on Chol Moed or on Shemitah. We said, I understand Chol Moed, it's Tirchi Yisrael, but what's the problem with Shemitah? So first we saw machlokes between Reb Zera and Reb Abba bar Mamel. One opinion being that it looks like he's being oder, that he's like softening the ground for seeding. The other one is that it looks, if he's going to be digging it and putting it next to the side, on the side of the irrigation canal, it could look like he's like digging a furrow for seeding. So therefore, that was that machlokas. Then we saw the Ameimar says that no, actually, certainly the opinion of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah is that he's concerned about oder, that he's like softening up the ground. Then we had a kasha, but when it comes to manure, right, if you want to collect fertilizer on Shemitah, that's okay. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says as long as you dig out an area 3 tvachim deep. Why isn't he concerned about oder? So according to this, the machlokas between Zera and Rabbi Abba bar Mamel is that one opinion is that, well, the sort of ditch that he's putting the fertilizer in was already dug from before Shemitah. The other opinion is that the fact he's filling it up with fertilizer means that memele it's for storage and not for fertilizing a field on Shemitah. Friends, that was the Abdallah of Masechta Moed Katan. I hope you enjoyed it. Peace out.